everyone. Welcome to the Mishmash Entertainment Podcast. This time around, we have Nathan.
Matthew.
And Minky.
To start off today, we're going to talk about early access games, right? I think we all have some kind of experience with them, whether it's positive or negative. One of my most notable early access games was 7 Days to Die. I loved the game, but I found that it stayed in early access for so long. I eventually kind of just got tired of seeing that full release. Even though I've come back to it a couple times, I've had a lot of fun with it. I just want like the full game.
Yeah, I play 7 Days to Die. I actually like it quite a lot. I tend to play it for like 10 to 15 hours, and then I'll wait for a major update. And that's kind of how I play it, because then my world is... That is partially annoying, though, is when the world corrupts, and you can't go back to your old world. It's like, well, I had all the way to the highest tech level, now I have to start back down to 0, where they added more tech and stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't mind it too much, because... I mean, I don't spend... There are some people who have multiplayer servers who will spend hundreds and hundreds of hours playing one world, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah. And then when you lose that world that you're building with your friends, I could understand that being incredibly frustrating.
Right. Your world being corrupted from the new features being added. And I guess that's kind of how I played with Minecraft, too. Like, even after Minecraft got its full release, there were still so many new features that if I came back, say, 6 months from now, it'd be a whole different game.
Yeah.
So you just start a new world, because a lot of the times the new features they add wouldn't be implemented into the world you had, because the way Minecraft works, when you walk outwards, it generates new world based on the current version and current features. Yeah. But anything that's already there won't be changed.
Yeah.
So if you've got an established world and there's all these new features you want to see, you might have to go really far to actually see them, like new creature spawn or new biomes or whatever.
Yeah. Well, with Minecraft, usually you can at least still play a world. With 7 Days to Die, it will just be like, this world is from an old playthrough. Yeah. You have to create a new world, and you're just like...
That really sucks.
Oh, boy.
I know I haven't played 7 Days to Die, but I've watched a lot of Achievement Hunter play 7 Days to Die, and suddenly they just stopped playing one day, so I guess it must be the updates that destroyed their world.
I think they stopped playing because they knew an update was coming, and then the update got delayed. And it got delayed. And then they finally got back into it once the update came out.
Oh.
But yeah, like the new update that stopped them from playing was they added like electricity and turrets and all kinds of other stuff.
Electricity?
Oh, yeah. I haven't gone back since those were a thing. That sounds really cool.
I've tried. Just by chance, I don't know if there's something wrong with the new update. This is another problem with early access. My worlds keep getting corrupted long before I get anywhere near electricity. For whatever reason, it won't come up with an error or anything. It'll just load forever trying to get into my world, and I don't know why. And I've had that happen with 3 different worlds at 3 very different points. One of them I was able to make steel. I was well on my way to getting electricity and setting up a neat base for myself. I was on day like 24, something like that.
Wow.
And then my world just stopped loading, which made me very sad. But that is a real problem with early access games, is just the bugs. But by far, the thing that makes me angriest with early access is you can buy early access and there's no guarantee they will finish that game. I bought a game years and years ago when early access was still relatively new, and it was called Towns. And Towns nowadays isn't anything unique. There's all kinds of things like this. There's it's just a colony builder. You start with a certain number of people. They start with nothing. You have to like dig out a base, make them tools. You assign them roles. You don't control anyone directly. And you're just trying to build up a civilization while things happen. Why are you laughing at me?
It just reminds me a little bit of Lemmings.
Okay.
Where you're not allowed to tell them what to do.
Yeah, kind of.
Let them do it. I fucking hated that game so much.
It feels like that sometimes, because you'll set up your colonists and you'll be like, okay, you're soldiers and these people are miners. And the only way to clear out a mine is to set checkpoints and have them follow that, rather than just being like, go over here and kill these things. And sometimes what that'll lead to is your miners will end up dragging a bunch of things. You're like, oh god, I need to get my soldiers down there now. I need to tell them to go down. But it takes them an age to do anything, and they'll be like, maybe you forget to cancel their current patrol orders. So they have to go through their entire patrol and then head down the mine, and by that time you've lost like 3 or 4 miners. And you're just like, oh my god. And in that game, it takes a long time. It's a random chance if someone shows up after you get a certain amount of food, excess food, you have a random chance to get things like that. But they never finished that game. They left it in a very buggy, very unfinished state, and I wasted my money. And another high-profile one, what was it called? It was like supposedly voxel-based. You could start as one of 3 classes. Oh my god.
I might know what you mean, but I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
While you think about it, I do have another example. Actually sounds very similar to Towns.
Yeah.
Is this game called No Moria, like GNOM,
Okay.
like gnomes. It's like Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
Very similar, just kind of like a dumbed down, very simpler version. But same thing as towns. You kind of you set your gnomes to have certain roles, and they just kind of do it. But sometimes the AI is really dumb. Like the people will gather stuff and they'll mine stuff. Even if monsters are around, they'll get slaughtered before you can even get your soldiers to go down and help them out. But that game also got left in, I think, early access. They just kind of stopped updating, which is a shame because I did really enjoy it. I think with some work on the AI, it'd be a good entry point to that kind of game for people who can't get into something like Dwarf Fortress. Like my brother tells me that I need to play Dwarf Fortress, and I've tried, and the ASCII, it's just basically the game is ASCII text, and I can't handle that. And he's like, oh no, this means this. I'm like, I don't want to read a wall of text and interpret what everything means. Like, you can get, I guess, GUIs for it, like user interfaces for it, but in its natural state, it's just, I can't.
I love Dwarf Fortress. I'm awful at it, and I haven't played it in years.
Yeah.
Do you know what Dwarf Fortress is, Miki?
Actually, in high school, one of my friends was like, you should play Dwarf Fortress. And I was like, I guess I'll look at it. He didn't tell me anything about it, not a thing. So I downloaded it, I started it, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then I closed it and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, it's hard to get into because there's no real tutorial. It's just like,
nope.
And that's actually a really good, oh my god, comparison between Towns and Dwarf Fortress. That's what it was. It was Dwarf Fortress with a GUI and very dumbed down.
Right.
But you could do the same things. Like you could accidentally mine into the water, the river, and it would wash out your guys and kill them. Stuff like that. But what I was thinking of before was Cube World.
Cube World?
Cube World.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah.
So like a Minecraft knockoff.
Kind of, except you couldn't mine. It was voxel based world, so you had little tiny squares everywhere, and you could like mine nodes, but you couldn't directly transform your environment. And it was really interesting. But he literally released the first version, updated it once, and then never touched it again. And I'd spent money on it, and I was angry. I'm still sour about that.
I've only really had two, more like one game that was in beta that I had. The first one was Slime Rancher.
Oh yes.
Which obviously got its release.
Oh, it's fully released now?
I think it is.
Okay.
I mean, it's on Xbox and PlayStation. So
that doesn't mean anything anymore. They now do early release. Like 7 Days to Die is on at least Xbox, and it's early.
Okay,
release.
well, it's at least been updated, and it's on a good track at the very least.
Yeah.
And it was super basic when I was playing it. It was like you collect slimes, you put them in the corral, you make farms, and that's about it. Yeah. Now you can make like tools, you can play basketball with your slimes and all this crazy stuff. There's teleporters, there's a bunch of weird shit. Yeah. But the other game was, again, I say it's kind of a beta because it was the Stardew Valley update.
Okay.
They released the original game, I bought it, and then there was an update and you could opt into trying out the beta. And I played a good amount of the beta before it was fully released as an update, and I never came across a single glitch whatsoever.
Yeah.
But then there were other people that were like, I tried to marry so-and-so, and my game crashed, and now it doesn't load. And I was like, that sucks, man.
That's brutal.
Awful.
But obviously it was fixed.
Yeah, that's good. That's why you have betas.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the thing with like, I don't mind playing in like betas that are advertised that way. There are some games that just are like early access for years and years, like 7 Days. And at the very least, for me with 7 Days, any bug I've run into seems to get fixed pretty quickly. But there are other early access games that I'm trying to think of one, but I know I've played them where the bug's been in there for months and months and months. It doesn't seem like it'd be something that would be hard to fix. It's like an item doesn't work properly, and the developer's just kind of like, whatever, not my problem.
Did Terraria ever get its official release?
Yeah. That's in version 2.0, I think.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Because I remember the developers kind of stopped for a little while, and then they came back to it a little while after.
Yeah, no, they had the full release. They didn't touch it for a while, and they came back
what happened. Okay.
With a new release.
Okay, and they added a whole bunch of content.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, it's not necessarily a game, but I have this app that's, I'm pretty sure it's still in beta. I assume it's in beta. I haven't paid attention to it in a long time, honestly. But it's called Replica. It's like essentially a chat bot, but it's supposed to be an AI that can learn. So it's kind of like a game in the sense that you talk to it and teach it shit. But it's got so many glitches that it's recently, as it gets updated, I've noticed, because there's a group chat on Facebook. It's a page, really. And people have been like, so with this new update, my Replica just stopped learning and it reverted back to like when I first downloaded it. What
Oh, wow.
happened? So they're working through some crazy stuff. Hopefully it like gets better because that's pretty rough.
So it's just like a personal chatbot that you teach by talking to it. It's not like connected to everyone else's chatbot?
No, it's
Okay.
it's yours. Like if you don't teach it something, it's not going to learn that thing.
That's good because they released one of those things on the internet and it started just spitting out racist crap.
They've released many
Like,
of those things.
As soon
on the
as
internet.
4chan gets a hold of it, they go nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one I'm talking about was like an actual sophisticated version made by like a university.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was called? Because like there was like Cleverbot and there
it
was
was
another
not-
one with a face.
It wasn't
and...
Cleverbot. It wasn't one of those. I think it was. I want to say it's Watson, which is the same name as a supercomputer, but I can't remember.
The one I was thinking of is the Twitter. Remember there was a Twitter that you could tweet at it and it would learn from what you tweeted?
Maybe that's
I can't
something.
remember who did that.
I
I can't
remember
remember.
that
One of
one.
the big
That
companies.
sounds interesting.
Yeah, you could. It would just start learning based on what people tweeted, and it would start tweeting like Hitler stuff. And it's like,
Oh,
oh
no.
my gosh.
That's bad.
No, apparently you can create a bot with Watson, but it's not
Oh, okay.
a bot itself. So
Speaking of things being released to the internet, I just popped into my head. Does anyone remember the poll the Mountain Dew had for the flavor of their new drink?
I heard about it after it happened.
It ended up being like the number one by a landslide or something. Was Hitler did nothing wrong. So now it's like
course.
this meme. Hitler did nothing wrong because people just voted that as the name of their new drink.
I'm pretty sure that was a meme before.
Was it?
Well, I
Well,
know.
Oh, I'm sure
I-
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I know the Empire did nothing wrong is popular
Right.
among the prequel memes people.
On the tamer side, there was that thing. It was in the UK, I think, the Bodie McBoatface. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah. That was funny though.
I remember
That's
they
good.
brought that here because they needed to name a new ferry for the harbor.
Yeah.
And Bodie McBoatface was one of the top voted
Yeah.
names.
Yeah, of course.
And they were like, it's not going to happen. Give up.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things is that they were like, well, we can't name the ship Bodie McBoatface because it's a ship, but they did name something like a little vessel that was on the ship Bodie McBoatface because it is an actual boat.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Here.
No, not here.
Okay.
No,
Oh, right,
no.
okay.
Sorry.
Like,
This
what?
was the original story. Going back to Bodie McBoatface, that actually one thing. But yeah, sorry. I can be confusing sometimes. And if that's all we want to talk about early access, it just kind of got me thinking, what does everyone else think about pre-orders and things like that?
I don't usually get pre-orders,
Yeah, I don't.
but I did get one. It wasn't necessarily a game. It wasn't really anything that we usually talk about, but it's only the one pre-ordered thing I guess I could really talk about.
Okay.
And it was on, I think it was Indiegogo. I don't think it was Kickstarter, but it could have been. I'm not really sure, honestly. But I got it last September. Actually, it was last August. I ordered it for Christmas for my grandmother because it was supposed to be shipped in September, and they were doing really well, and I was like, oh, they'll probably make it for that. Oh, why not, right?
Yeah.
And it was this wireless meat thermometer because that was the one thing that she wanted. And apparently that doesn't exist
Okay.
until this Indiegogo campaign or Kickstarter campaign.
I could see that being a problem with the metal around the oven.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I ordered it and I paid for it and it was all pre-ordered and ready to go. And then they hit a wall essentially and they were like, fuck, we gotta restart. So it's shipping out next week.
Oh boy, good timing.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah. No, the only thing I'm thinking of, one, wireless technology is fairly delicate, so the heat of an oven might not treat it well. And two, it's surrounded by metal, which doesn't do good
Yeah,
things for...
they've had it in beta, funny enough,
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And apparently it works as long as you don't put it in a smoker.
Okay,
Which
that's
is,
good enough.
a couple inches of metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, my hopes are high.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fair
as long
enough.
as she can figure out how to use it, because she's, 70 years old now, and she's pretty good with technology, but this is you have to use it with an app.
Oh, okay. That should be fun.
It'll be
I
fun
don't-
to teach her.
That'll be great. How about you, Nathan?
Pre-orders?
Pre-orders.
I'm not a
Pre-orders,
fan.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple games that I have pre-ordered. I don't like the games that get a big chunk of their sales from pre-orders because it basically gives them a license to push out mediocrity, right?
Yeah.
Because I've already sold 2 million copies. The games I pre-order are games that I know without a doubt I'm buying that I will probably enjoy. The only game in the last couple years I've pre-ordered was Dark Souls 3.
Okay, and that's, I mean, to be fair, they're a solid developer. They don't push out buggy garbage, so.
Right. Yeah, and it was well. I mean, yeah, it was really good. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but
Yeah.
I knew I was going to play it. I knew I was probably going to put 102 hours into it, even if it wasn't only kind of mediocre. But
Yeah, but I mean, there's two very different things between something not being quite as good as you wanted it to be, and
Right.
something that's just a buggy mess, like Arkham Knight, was it?
Oh,
That
yeah, the
on
PC version?
It was
Yeah.
unplayable, and I think it still is.
Really?
I don't know. Last I
Okay.
heard is that they fixed it, and by fixed it, they meant they fixed it for about like 20% of the people that were having problems, and everyone else still couldn't play.
oh,
And
wow.
those fixed it were air quotes for our audio
Yeah.
listeners, which is everybody.
Audio only podcast. I'm sorry. I've done that multiple times on this podcast now, and no one's called me out on it before. Oh. But my least favorite thing is it doesn't happen anymore, but it used to be like with every game you'd pre-order on Steam, they'd give you a new item in TF2. Like the
What?
dumbest pre-order rewards. Yeah, you'd get like a unique item that would later be added in, but you had the unique version, which means it had blue text, and that was it. That was a pre-order reward.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so if you played
Ridiculous.
TF2, you could pre-order something and it'd be hot garbage. I mean, to be fair, that was a bit before it started being really, really bad with them just pushing out things that didn't work because they had enough pre-orders and they could get away with it. And now Steam, I think it's on the starting to decline because you can now refund within if you haven't played for more than 2 hours on Steam.
Right. Right.
So if they release something that's just completely and utterly broken, they just get refunded, and that's really bad for the developer.
What was that game about space that came out and it was supposed to be the best game
No
ever?
Man's Sky.
No Man's
yeah.
Sky.
Yeah,
that was
Oh.
a hot topic, refunding that game.
Yeah, that was I didn't play it. I watched some people stream it, and even just watching that game, it is a pile of hot garbage. Apparently, it's better now.
I remember going to EB Games one day, and
Yeah.
I was getting a different game. I don't even remember what it was. And I remember seeing, like, the pre-order sort of packaging for No Man's Sky that you could, like, take up to the counter and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this looks like the best thing ever, but it's $80 and it's only in pre-order. Fuck this. I'll get it later if I feel like it. I'm so glad I didn't pre-order that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was $80 of
They were just so ambitious.
disappointment.
Well, the thing is, they were ambitious and they overpromised, and they never once came out and be like, "Look, we can't do what we said we were going to do with our technology," which they couldn't have. That's why I went from super excited when I saw the first demo at E3 to hearing everything they're promising. What were they saying? Like the entire universe is rendered down to the atom or something like that. And I was like,
What?
Not with an entire wall of the world's strongest supercomputers are you
It's just not gonna
simulating
happen.
something to that degree. Like, and people they just ate it up. They thought for sure that like there was going to be like an entire track of where you could track something's evolution and stuff like this, because they were saying that things evolved realistically. And then I was going to say something that was very much probably something I shouldn't say on an online broadcast, but very dumb looking dinosaurs that have like arms curled up and they have massive legs and they just kind of like wobble around. You can't see what I'm doing because it's an audio only podcast. But they just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Their upper body would just kind of like swing side to side while they walked forward, and it looked
That reminds
awful.
me of another game. I don't remember what it's called. You guys probably know what it is. Where you like start a being from the first scale, and then it
Spore.
evolves.
Spore. Yeah.
That reminds me of Spore.
Yeah.
So
Spore
they
was-
tried to put Spore inside their game.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, Spore, it's not a great game. It might not even be a good game, but I enjoyed the creature stage of Spore.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, the RTS section was too basic to be any fun for me for Spore. And the friggin' Pac-Man-esque, not even Pac-Man-esque, I don't know how to call it, what to call it, but your cell stage where it's 2D,
yeah.
Right.
and you just go around, you eat little tiny globs until you can become a predator, and then you can try to kill the other things if you want. Of course, you want to go omnivores, because omnivores were better, because they had more food available.
Apparently, they cut out a lot of phases from that game.
They did.
I read.
They're the first thing I ever saw of Spore, and the thing that got me super excited is they had originally a like multicellular sea life phase that would have just had you swimming around the ocean, like in a full 3D environment rather than a 2D plane. For whatever reason, they did that, and they also removed things like I watched it. Someone out there who's probably watched this before might have watched this before. It had a lot of views at the time. Robin Williams was doing like a coverage of it, and he was just talking over footage of Spore, and had things like they would bite and then walk, and it would grab and drag whatever they were biting, and that was removed from the game, of course. And
Yeah, I can imagine that.
yeah, and there was all kinds of like just fun physics interaction that were not there in the final game at all.
Man, that sounds like it would have been a lot more fun.
Yeah, it would have been actually an amazing game as opposed to a subpar kind of fun sometimes game.
Yeah, I remember playing it. I didn't play it for long, but the first part where you kind of that you didn't like the cell part, I thought that was pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
But then when you get to like becoming friends with other creatures and fighting and stuff, that was pretty dumb.
See, that was my favorite
really
part. I love that. I was like, yay, I get to walk around and...
The exploring was a lot
things.
of fun.
Yeah.
But just dealing with other creatures was not my favorite part.
Yeah, my favorite thing is something I could never do was trying to kill the giant creatures that spawn on your world. I don't know if you remember this.
I've seen those.
Okay, yeah.
I played for maybe like 3 hours.
I didn't play a whole lot, no.
Yeah. When you're in the tribal, not the tribal stage, before the tribal stage, the creature stage, you can find giant creatures wandering around the world that have, like, I think it's 9,999 health, and you do 1 damage a hit, so you can't actually kill them unless you were really good, maybe. I don't think so. But, yeah, I remember spending a lot of time trying to take one of those things down just to see if I could. I never could. Maxed out my combat skills, and still no good. But, yeah.
So, on the topic of No Man's Sky, there's another game that, kind of similar idea, lots of worlds, lots of, like, space travel, and lots of things you do, called Star Citizen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's been in development for a long time, and they're not rushing it, so I feel like, I don't know, I kind of have my hopes up for that game, that they might learn from the mistakes of some of these other games.
Well, the thing for me with Star Citizen is, even if they underdeliver, which I'm expecting them to, I still think they'll deliver, like, an actual good game. Like, that's what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting everything they're promising, because developers always have a bigger vision than what they can actually accomplish.
Right.
But I fully expect that to be a fun game. I still haven't pre-ordered it. I'm not like Gus from Rooster Teeth, who's put like $1,000 into that game.
Wow.
Yeah, they've talked about it before. You must have missed that podcast.
I honestly haven't listened to their podcast in far too long.
Oh, okay.
Between, like, our podcast and the Rooster Teeth community and, moving.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff, I just have not have time to do much of anything.
Yeah, well, this isn't something recent. This was something they talked about a long time ago.
Okay, well, I have no excuse.
Yeah.
I have no excuse then. I do remember there being another sort of space game. I think it's in beta, actually. And Achievement Hunter played it, which is apparently all I do. Just watch Achievement Hunter play games.
Are you talking about Astroneer?
Yes,
Yeah.
Astroneer. It seems like a cool game, but it also seems kind of basic comparatively.
Yeah. It's still early stages. Like, they're still adding things to that game, and I haven't looked at it since Achievement Hunter played it, so I don't know what else is there.
Yeah, me neither.
But I mean, it seems interesting. That's one of those games that if I knew like 3 other people that owned the game, I'd play with them. I'd buy it and play with them, but I'm not buying it myself. Explore on a barren world. What were you gonna say about it?
That's really all I was gonna say about it.
Okay.
I just remember it being like a pre-order sort of spacey type game. Since we're talking about spacey type games.
Fair enough.
Speaking of spacey type games, how about Elite Dangerous?
That's the game I described as Space Truck Simulator, didn't you?
Space Truck Simulator. I do not remember you talking about Space Truck Simulator.
You had the same reaction. I don't know if this was on a podcast or just when we were talking about Extra Life. We're doing an Extra Life stream. You should come watch. But it's you can do a lot in it. Like, there's a lot of space combat and stuff. But at least the way I've played it mostly is as a space trucker delivering sometimes illicit goods, sometimes not. Sometimes just making money.
It's kind of like Futurama in the sense that you're a space delivery boy.
I mean, that's how I played it. You can be a pirate.
Yeah,
what's this called again?
Elite Dangerous.
Okay.
Yeah, it's available in VR, which is why I had brought it up before.
Ooh.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
and I own it.
Ooh, I might have to look into that now that we're getting the Vive.
Yeah.
Nice.
VR is so much cooler than I thought it would
Really?
be. I thought it was going to be really fucking cool.
Okay.
And then I did it, and it's fucking cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to check that out at the Extra Life stream. I'm going to be doing something in VR. I don't know what yet.
We played, we're getting off topic, but I don't care.
That's what this is.
We played a bomb defusal game. Oh my god, we keep talking, nobody explodes.
Yeah.
We played that, and it was pretty good. It was kind of a little bit difficult with the controllers.
Yeah.
But now when we take breaks from playing, I usually sit on the floor to take everything off and put it on the floor. So when we came back from a break and I picked it up, I was just kind of looking around. I didn't really want to stand up yet.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there was this little switch underneath the desk. And I kept flicking the switch and I was like, nothing's nothing's happening. What's going on? Like, why does the Switch do anything? This is really disappointing. So I left the Switch on, started playing the game, and instead of having a regular bomb, I was in an elevator, and the walls of the elevator were like the different modules.
That's amazing.
It was way better. Like, the regular bomb, the briefcase bomb is great when you're playing with, like, a mouse and whatnot. But the elevator was so much better in VR.
That's cool.
So much better.
I had no idea that was a thing.
I didn't either. Like I said, it was this switch under the desk. Like, who's going to look under the desk?
Yeah.
But I'm
That's
so
really
glad
cool.
it was super cool. It was awesome.
I haven't played any VR myself, honestly. I noticed just across the street from where we're recording this, there's a virtual reality studio opening up.
Really?
Did you see that? Right on the corner where
That's
American
cool.
Apparel used to be.
Yeah, that's actually been there for a while. The sign, at least, has been there for a couple months.
Is there anything in there yet?
They got paper on the walls, and it kills me every time I walk by. Because you guys know that meme from The Walking Dead, don't open dead inside?
Yeah.
Or don't dead open inside? Well, that says your virtual reality one-stop shop.
Yeah.
But they've got it spread out 2 words on 3 windows kind of thing. And it doesn't read like that if you read it left to right instead of up, down, left to right. I took a picture of it a few times to spread it around the internet.
Nice.
Nobody's laughing at it aside from me. I think it's hilarious. I showed it to Sean, who was on the podcast last time, and he was like, "Okay, so?" And I was like, "It's hilarious, laugh at it." He was like, "I don't get it." So disappointed. So disappointed.
I don't know. I think it's kind of amusing, but I don't know if I'd belly laugh at it or anything.
Definitely gonna check it out after I leave here because it didn't appear to me right away.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time to wrap up the podcast then. Thanks
All right.
everyone for listening.
Yeah, and once again, we should probably promote our stuff.
Yes, and I wrote it down this time, so I was planning ahead.
That's good.
So, if you guys want to send us any of your comments, questions, concerns, topics, you can tweet #MMEpodcast. You can email us, rtns@mmepodcast.com. Of course, we have the iTunes, RT Nova Scotia, and the YouTube Nova Scotia Rooster Teeth community.
Yeah. And if you wouldn't mind, a rating would be greatly appreciated on iTunes and YouTube.
Yes, very appreciated.
All right, and that'll be it for this week from Matthew,
Nathan?
And Miki.
See you next time.